Like the gift that keeps on giving, Ironheart continues its quest to be one of the most pathetic and embarrassing series Marvel has ever created. A show that feels like it was written in crayon, edited by a blind Wakandan, and produced by the bald-headed demons. An unintentional parody, trying to see just how many stereotypes they can shove into one character before they explode. And once again, taking a giant dump on Tony's legacy with every decision she makes. One of the most fascinating concepts in the superhero genre would have to be the no-kill rule, and exploring the vastly different views on morality of our favorite characters. Like Daredevil, whose beliefs stem directly from his faith, and considers it a mortal sin to take a life, and has shown throughout the series how strongly he feels about this. And on the other side of the coin, you have characters like the Punisher, a man who truly thinks the violence that he commits to is for the greater good, and doesn't believe in half measures.
I'm just some crazy asshole going around unloading on whoever I want to,
Yeah,
huh?
that's exactly what I think.
That is?
You think you're anything else?
I think that the people I kill need killing. That's what I think.
You left men hanging from meat hooks.
They got off easy, in my opinion.
And something that I've always appreciated about Tony is just how much he fits in the center. Someone who would never hurt an innocent person, but will definitely break your shit if you're an enemy. A healthy balance of the two perspectives that we saw get tested over and over, all the way to Civil War, the high water mark for the MCU, and a story that had respect for the history of its characters and the world building, by addressing the casualties and the chaos that has occurred due to the Avengers intervening. Because regardless of which side of the coin they stand on, it's really important to fully understand their perspective when it comes to this subject.
Our very strength invites challenge. Challenge incites conflict. And conflict breeds catastrophe.
Then there's Ironheart, a character so badly written that even after her own series I still have no idea where she stands. Permanently damaged by her first appearance by having her blow up a group of cops that were just trying to do their job. Black Widow's entire character is based on trying to redeem her bloody past. But with Ironheart, it's never even addressed. Shoved into the position of taking on the mantle of Iron Man, without ever giving us a reason to care. A massive issue that plagues every scene she's in, and makes it almost impossible to get invested in her journey. And I want to compare a scene that does a great job of highlighting the importance of establishing values in your characters in order to provide clarity for the audience.
Help me out, what's the MIT mission statement? To generate, disseminate, and preserve knowledge. And work with others to bring it to bear on the world's great challenges.
Tony's journey of self-discovery has taken him many places, from joining the Avengers to creating an AI system that eventually went rogue, all in the effort to protect the innocent and preserve the future. And rather than just beating up bad guys, we see him investing in young minds, inspiring them to pursue their goals, and helping provide a path forward for all of them.
All of your projects have just been approved and funded. No streets, no taxes, just reframe the future.
A brief moment to establish his current state of mind and relationship status with Pepper, and a reminder that behind the iron suit and inspiring confidence, there's still a damaged individual at the core.
Restrooms this way, yeah?
Yeah, embedded in the meat shaft.
Stark, I am so sorry about the teleprompter. I didn't know Miss Potts had canceled.
After asking for directions to the bathroom, he quickly decides to bail and heads for the elevator.
That was nice what you did for those young people.
They deserve it. Plus, it helps ease my conscience.
Another line to instantly reflect on his history and the many mistakes that haunt him, highlighting his generosity, but adding a personal layer that provides so much more insight into his growth from the first film.
They say there is a correlation between generosity and guilt. But if you've got the money, break as many eggs as you like.
Tony barely glanced at the producers on his way out, even though they were swarming him. But the passive-aggressive tone of this lady is impossible to ignore, as we get a shot of him looking towards the button and realizing she never even pressed it.
Are you going up?
I'm right where I want to be. His name was Charlie Spencer. You murdered him.
He's well aware of the statistics, the potential for innocent bystanders, and the risk they all take every time the Avengers suit up, and has carried this burden of responsibility for years. But the pain in a mother's eyes, blaming you directly for the loss of her son, is a pill that's just too hard to swallow, even with someone with the most pragmatic perspective.
You think you fight for us? You just fight for yourself. Who's going to avenge my son, Stark?
The camera lingers on a stunned Tony, rendered utterly speechless for the first time in this series, confronted with the reality of his actions in the most effective way imaginable. And when summoned to the meeting by Ross and presented with all the destruction they have caused around the world, the normally talkative Tony still remains silent.
Tony, you're being uncharacteristically non-hyperverbal.
It's because he's already made up his mind.
Boy, you know me so well. Oh, that's Charles Spencer, by the way. He's a great kid. Computer engineering degree, 3.6 GPA. Had a floor-level gig, an Intel plan for the fall. But first, he wanted to put a few miles on his soul before he parked it behind a desk. Charlie didn't want to go to Vegas or Fort Lauderdale, which is what I would do. He didn't go to Paris or Amsterdam, which sounds fun. He decided to spend his summer building sustainable housing for the poor, guess where? Sokovia.
His obsession with innovation resulted in the death of countless people and billions of dollars worth of damage after creating Ultron. And the extra details he provides in his speech show that not only did he do his research, but just how much this death has affected him personally. The exact type of young man he was trying to inspire with his scholarship was brutally killed by them, and they didn't even know it. An event tragic enough to change the views of any man, and a line crossed that Tony could no longer justify.
He wanted to make a difference, I suppose. I mean, we won't know because we dropped a building on him while we were kicking ass. We need to be put in check. Whatever form that takes, I'm game.
The same person who mocked the government for trying to claim his tech has now finally understood the need for rules and guidelines and is willing to compromise. And after capturing the Winter Soldier and falling into Zemo's trap, we get what I consider his most underappreciated scene.
Please tell me you brought a suit.
Sure did. It's a lovely Tom Ford 3-piece 2-button. I'm an active duty non-combatant.
With limited access to his tech and no iron suit to protect his fragile body, Tony still puts his life on the line, engaging the Winter Soldier in his prime. Not that fat fuck from Thunderbolts, I'm talking about the real thing here. It's easy to discuss his scenes where he's suited up and completely dominating, but it's when he's at his most vulnerable where we see what he's really made of. As put so elegantly by the great Ra's al Ghul, the training is nothing, the will is everything. The will to act, something that nobody can ever accuse Tony of lacking.
There are dead people who would be alive now. Feel free to check my math.
All due respect, you're not going to solve this with boys and bullets, Russ. You gotta let us bring him in.
And how would that end any differently than last time?
Because this time, I won't be wearing loafers and a silk shirt.
Now, let's compare that to Ironheart. After teasing the idea of using her tech to help first responders and never doing anything to show it, the young Riri Williams, with her big-ass brain and contacts in Wakanda, is somehow left with no other choice than a life of crime in order to make enough money to achieve her goals of building something iconic and being acknowledged for her genius after getting kicked out of school and completely blowing her scholarship.
You have been a horrible steward of Stark's legacy.
So rather than exploring other options, she teams up with a group of thugs as a tech specialist. And after passing their test with flying colors, she gets the offer to join the next heist.
Look, I don't want to hurt anyone.
It's not like that.
A decent line and a reasonable point of view for her to have in this situation that is once again ruined by the fact that she already murdered a group of cops. So after Hoodman tells her to come with me and we can rule the galaxy together, she joins them on their next mission. But unlike Tony, who saw with his own eyes the war crimes that were being committed and decided to take action, this show's only justification for theft and extortion is the classic trope of rich man bad, rather than actually having a discussion on the validity of their targets. It's a simple concept that always leads to an interesting discussion and an easy way to flesh out your characters. Like with Dexter, a serial killer who only targets other killers and does a thorough investigation to make sure that they're guilty of murder and likely to kill again. A practice that made his entire story more respectable when they clearly established his code.
Where's my ring?
It's not your ring, it's Ellen's. Though you did leave a nice, clean print on it.
Oh, there's plenty of blood on your hands, too. Ethan Turner, Clemson Galt.
All deserving, with nothing to tie me to their deaths and no bodies to prove that they're even dead.
But Riri, after listening to the entire breakdown of the plan, has only one question.
So, like, when do we get paid?
After completing the first mission and blackmailing a company, she is stopped by a security guard, and due to her randomly malfunctioning suit, she is unable to move and is rescued by Hoodman. And it's scenes like this that defined your characters, especially for someone whose goal was supposed to be about helping first responders and revolutionizing safety.
Yeah, don't worry about him. He'll be fine.
Okay. But of course, instead of helping him in any way, they leave his ass in the street to bleed so they can go party. Because why would a superhero ever waste their precious time doing something as stupid as helping the innocent? Saying that you don't want to hurt anyone is totally meaningless if you're willing to let it occur as long as there's money involved. A simple premise that any reasonable writer should understand. But instead of following up on this moment in any way and showing its effect on her character, they give us one line to say that she's sad and then immediately forget it ever happened. So after getting a taste for crime and suspicion of Hoodman, she decides to betray the team during the next mission to try to get a piece of his hood to study it, to understand his powers.
It's not about the money.
And it's moments like this where I struggle to figure out which part of this story is the most ridiculous. The fact that nobody in the room can notice the smell of a burning suit, or the fact that of all the ways they could show her genius, they continue to choose the most embarrassing ways imaginable. The mission is botched, the doors are being sealed, and the crew is being locked in an airtight room and running out of oxygen. Hoodman and the rich dude have an entire discussion and standoff. And throughout all of this, Riri is still standing there, burning this man's leg.
My company that I built from
You don't know anything about starting from nothing. Me, my homies, we do.
So after seeing him murder the guy in cold blood, now would be the perfect time for her to call her suit and take action, like a hero should, right? Wrong. She lets more security guards get brutally murdered if she crawls away in a vent.
Direct me to an unaffected greenhouse and get the rest of the crew to safety. Agree. You have to save them.
So security and cops can all rot, but when it comes to saving a crew of disgusting criminals that she just betrayed, now she's suddenly a hero. One of the many reasons I have so much trouble understanding this stupid character. Like, look at this. Instead of putting the piece of hood in her pocket, they have her crawl all the way through the vent with it in her hand just to set up the boss fight. So for our final battle, we have Rob, the cousin of Hoodman and the enforcer of the crew, versus an unarmed 90-pound nerd that has no idea what she's doing. But of course, this is Disney, and they will bend time and space to provide her whatever plot armor she needs to succeed. So Enforcer Man gets bitch slapped with a keyboard and then proceeds to swing at air. He catches up and grabs a hold of her, and then decides to do my favorite thing in the entire world. He stands there, holding his knife and patiently waits for Riri to bottle him. But before he can land the final blow and spare us all, they start to run out of oxygen and struggle to breathe. So she makes a deal with him to spare her life after rescuing his, and find out the truth about Hoodman together. And then she takes her suit and frees the rest of the crew in order to get everyone to safety. Nah, that would make too much sense, wouldn't it? So she hops in her suit to catch her breath and then flies away, leaving his ass to die.
No! Riri! Open the door! Open the damn door, Riri!
Okay. And to make it 1,000 times worse, she pretends to look for him at the request of Hoodman, even though she knows exactly what she did.
I'm sorry, he's in one of the greenhouses and he's not moving.
You lying ass bitch.
A criminal, a traitor, and a complete psychopath, all in 3 episodes. A character who was created to inspire the youth, just showed a whole generation of children that it's okay to lie, cheat, and steal as long as there's money involved. The moment she had her suit, the fight was over. There was no argument for self-defense, but she still chose to let him suffocate. Even when she bombed the cops in Wakanda Forever, you could still try to claim she was clearing the way and didn't actually want to hurt anyone. But with this, it's just straight up murder, and they go out of their way to make it explicit. Being a poorly written, cheap imitation of one of my favorite characters was one thing, but they have now officially created a monster, a demonic entity that should never have been made. Tony Stark's story was so consistently written that you could track his arc across several different movies, spin-offs, and collaborations, and still have a clear idea of who he is and the choices he would make.
Mr. Stark, it smells like a new car in here!
Happy trails, kid. Friday, send him home.
Yep. Oh, come on!
But with Ironheart, tracking her thought process, even scene to scene, is damn near impossible. Flip-flopping like a fucking fish and never showing any consistent values. The superhero genre can be quickly summarized with Uncle Ben's legendary quote, "With great power comes great responsibility." A theme that applies to almost every MCU character on either side of the coin. But in all my years, I don't think I've ever seen a character that ignores this lesson as shamelessly as Ironheart. This is the origin of a villain, a tale of deranged entitlement, a spiteful creation, lacking even an ounce of self-awareness, and a massive stain on a franchise that's already on life support after years of worthless projects and terrible ideas, desperately clinging to its past success but doing nothing to secure its future.
If we can't accept limitations, we're boundaryless, we're no better than the bad guys.
Look, I don't want to hurt anyone.